Hi guys, David here from upphone.com and payette.com, and in this video we're going to talk about the best cell phones for seniors. Before we dive in, we just want to say we get really fired up about this topic because we see wireless carriers market really bad phones to seniors, and they do it by reinforcing really negative stereotypes.
And a lot of us have shared these stereotypes, and we, while writing an article called The Best Cell Phones for Seniors that we published recently, discovered that we too had held some of the stereotypes. Let's just start by debunking a few of them, and by doing that, we're going to actually come up with a list of the best phones for seniors. So the first one that we hear a lot is that seniors just aren't good at using new technology, and they don't want to learn how to use it, and they need flip phones because they're just easier to use. And we think that this is entirely untrue. When I worked with people at the Apple Store, seniors who would come in were just as capable as younger people of using smartphones, and they loved them just as much. But a lot of the time they were a little bit more hesitant about breaking something. For instance, they'd come in and they'd ask a question. They already knew how to do the thing, but they didn't want to hit the wrong button.
Right.
And that makes sense given the environment that seniors grew up in. So seniors have been learning new skills with technology for their entire lives. And they've seen computers go from the size of entire rooms to now something we hold in our hand. And they remember the days when we used to hit the wrong key on a Windows computer and the whole thing would crash.
Right.
So they're naturally a little bit more hesitant about learning to use the new technology. But in the past several years, smartphones have switched their focus from these brand new features to emphasizing the ease of use component. So for instance, when you switch iPhones today, when you upgrade to a new one, all you have to do is take the old one and hold it near the new one and everything transfers. It used to be a whole convoluted process with the computer.
Yeah, the same thing is true of the Apple Watch. You just hold your new Apple Watch over your phone and they're instantly paired. And if you really ever get lost on an iPhone or any other phone, you can just kind of hit the home button, you're back to the home page, or you can just swipe up on the screen, you're back to the home page. So if you ever get lost, just back.
Do that.
It's really easy to get back to where you started.
And I think it's important when I was working with seniors to emphasize the fact that you can't break it. There's nothing that they can do that's going to break the iPhone, so have fun with it. A lot of people also say that seniors just don't want smartphones, and they can't handle all these bells and whistles. And actually, we heard that in a recent commercial.
That's a direct quote from a recent commercial.
Right.
Great Call has done a fantastic job of including the right features to make the Jitterbug Flip easy for me to use without any confusing bells and whistles.
I don't want to be overwhelmed by all the bells and whistles. So the seniors are smart people. They're not going to be overwhelmed. But let's talk about these bells and whistles that are going to overwhelm them.
Like maybe the high quality camera.
Like a camera. So we say that seniors have no use for a smartphone, but we need to know what we're saying when we say that. When you say, or when I say seniors have no use for a smartphone, we're saying seniors have no use for a phone that connects them to the outside world and empowers them by giving them the same access to information that the rest of us have. We're saying seniors don't need to have a high quality camera, the ability to look at photos and share them with their family and receive great pictures. Seniors don't need to be able to text their grandchildren. Seniors don't need to be able to video chat with their families. Seniors don't need any of these wonderful things that smartphones do for us because they're just too old. It makes absolutely no sense. It's easier to say, oh, I don't want to be overwhelmed by a smartphone, but let's just get away from that word, which is the only scary part about using an iPhone is the word smartphone. And when you actually look at the difference between the phones that companies are selling to seniors, the flip phones, and the smartphones, iPhones today.
Right. Well, the smartphones are easier to use, even though the flip phones are being marketed as the easy-to-use phones. Because, I mean, there's one thing that comes up a lot is button size for some reason.
Yep.
The flip phones, they have huge buttons, and the smartphones don't have any buttons. Well, if you go to the iPhone keypad and you start, dialing a phone number, those buttons are significantly larger than the buttons you will find on a flip phone.
Yeah.
And it's significantly easier to text on a smartphone with the digital keyboard than it is with the A9 keyboard you find on a smartphone. We actually counted up the numbers. You have to press 13 buttons to say hello on a flip phone.
Right, remember when we had to hit the 2 button 3 times to get the letter C, and then we had to wait, and then we hit, it's crazy.
Yeah, and if you miss a letter, you press it too many times. Back to the start, and now you're hitting it another 10 times, and it's a disaster.
It's a nightmare. And they say, there's these big buttons and stuff, but when you look at the phone, as David said, the buttons are smaller.
Same thing with the display. We actually saw an ad recently where he said, this phone has a big display. It's 3 inches, and it's in color.
Yeah.
As opposed to black and white.
Right, and by the way, the iPhone's screen is 6 inches.
Right. The newer phones now are having displays that are beyond 6 inches, even 6.5 inches. They're literally twice as large as the large flip phone screens.
And there are tons of features that are built into the iPhone that make them easy for people who have visual disabilities or
Hearing impairments?
Yep, motor skill problems to use. Not all seniors are going to need to use any of those features because a lot of them are 65, don't have any problems.
Some young people actually might benefit from the font sizes too.
But yeah, the point is that those features are there if seniors do need them. And you can make the font on an iPhone a heck of a lot bigger than you can on one of those tiny little flip phones.
You can also make the buttons bigger. You can also make the app icons bigger. You can make everything bigger and easier to read.
And then they talk about ease of use. Oh, my flip phone is so easy to use. But how hard is it really if you want to make a phone call to swipe up on an iPhone and then hit the phone button?
Or if you have a contact saved, press the side button, say, hey Siri, call whoever.
Right.
Done. No buttons.
No buttons.
One button.
And it's also safer for seniors to have an iPhone because iPhones, you can dial emergency services from across the room just by saying, hey, call 911.
Or use emergency SOS, press the button 5 times and you call emergency.
Yeah, David set off Siri in the other room. So, hey, we're back. So one of us said the HEYSIRI word, and it set off all the devices in the house, and I ended up calling an old high school friend.
It's like taking a dog for a WALK.
Exactly.
They know the word, and you don't want to set them off.
So you get the point.
We get the point. The smartphones are easier to use. Anyone can pick them up.
Yep.
And they have a lot better functionality that anyone, especially seniors, can take advantage of and really
seniors
enjoy.
love to use smartphones. So let's get into the phones themselves.
So our top overall phone for seniors is the iPhone XR. It's one of the newest iPhones. It's also, compared to the XS and the XS Max, it's in a good price range for you.
Yep, a little bit bigger screen than the XS, much cheaper than both of the other ones.
Yep.
You can get an iPhone XR currently on Sprint
for $15 a month with the Sprint Flex lease. Yeah. If the iPhone XR price is a little high for you, you can always go down to like an iPhone 7s per se. And I was checking the prices earlier today. You can get an iPhone 7 from a lot of different carriers for $15 a month, or you can buy one outright for about $300.
Yeah.
And the iPhone 7, it's going to have Apple support for a couple more years at least. So if you're looking for a lower cost iPhone 7, 8, 6S, all good options.
And for anybody that's getting into a smartphone or an iPhone for the first time, you can always just grab a family member's phone. That's what I've done with my family, is I've just passed down the phones that I've had to my parents, and they've loved them, and they continue to, because iPhones work for a long time, unlike the flip phones, which tend to break after a year.
Our top Android for seniors is definitely the Google Pixel 3a and 3a XL. These are new phones from Google. Very affordable, especially compared to the higher-end Samsungs and iPhones. Great display, great camera, 64 gigabytes of storage, and it's really easy to connect all your Google stuff to your Pixel.
So with Apple technology, I think that Apple is the best place for people who are new to a smartphone to start, because it's easy to get support. Because Apple, the criticism of Apple is that they have a limited ability to customize the phones. So
that's a criticism that we don't agree with.
We don't agree with that, because a lot of the times the customizations that you can do on Android are things that really don't make a difference in terms of anything important.
Right.
And then they can also introduce sort of variables that can break the phone.
Like malware.
It's very easy to use an iPhone, even for someone that hasn't used it before. Of course, there are family members that hopefully are patient and will show you a couple of things if you need it. And there's the Apple Store, which offers great sessions for free workshops and stuff. But I think the best way for seniors to learn is to get a phone and experiment with it and have fun, and just realize that they can't break the phone.
Now, before we log off here and end this video, we do want to talk about the worst cell phone for seniors. And we've talked a bit about flip phones. We mentioned some ads earlier, and now we're just going to go straight to the point. The Jitterbug Flip is the worst cell phone for seniors.
Yep,
we're just going to say it.
Yep, in spite of an ad that they have that says the great call Jitterbug Flip is the best.
Yeah, they give you 5 great reasons. First of all, bigger buttons. We've already explained how flip phones do not have bigger buttons than smartphones. The end.
Yep, larger screen, 3.2-inch color display.
Yeah, larger than what?
Yep,
larger than the other flip phones on the market. It's half the size of the display of a regular smartphone, and it's not a touch screen.
It's not a touch screen, and it's not as sharp as an iPhone screen by any means. It's a crappy little display.
Yep.
Next is simple menu and yes/no buttons. Not that simple if you can't tap on the thing that you want to use.
Right.
You have to use the arrow keys and go up and down and then hit yes or no, and it's tedious.
It's got a built-in camera, but wait, 2 megapixel camera.
The iPhone has a 12 megapixel camera.
Right. And some of the newer Samsungs are even reaching 14 and 16 megapixel cameras,
Right.
which are really incredible.
Yep, and megapixels aren't everything. You know, there are like 40 megapixel phones. It has to do with the quality of the sensor, but 2 is not enough. You can't print out a 2 megapixel photo and have it look good. You can't even print out a photo or get it from the phone to a printer.
Right.
If you, I mean, there's just so many things you can't do with a flip phone.
And the last point that Jitterbug makes about their flip phone, it's great because it has access to 5-star service.
5-star is Jitterbug's personalized health and safety package that includes a button that you press that connects you to their trained professionals that will evaluate any unsafe or uncertain situation to decide whether or not you need emergency help.
In any unsafe or uncertain situation, you'll be immediately connected to a highly trained agent who can confirm your location, assess the situation, and get you the help you need.
You know, I think that I'm capable, and most seniors are capable of determining whether or not they're having an emergency. I don't want to have to call some third-party service that, oh, by the way, if I forget to pay the bill for, won't pick up, to ask if I'm having a medical emergency and I need to get help from 911. The scariest part of this whole thing with 5-star for me is that in certain places in the United States, their terms of service say that if we can't verify that you're having an emergency, like if you can't talk to us, we're not going to send anybody. We're not going to contact emergency services. Whereas with 911, if they can't hear you, they're still going to send people to help. So I think that this service is both a waste of money and can increase danger for seniors who might just want to get help. Seniors know.
Yeah, now some people might say, well, the Jitterbug Flip is, you know, cheaper than an iPhone or a Samsung phone, but not really when you look at the payment plans, especially for Sprint, $15 a month for a 10R. I mean, and it's going to last significantly longer than a crappy little flip phone.
Yep.
So you got to think of the longevity of the phone as well as not just the upfront price.
Yep, and the plan price, and the great call plans are a ripoff.
They're very expensive, especially when you add the health and safety packages.
Yep, absolutely.
So that is the best cell phones for seniors. Thank you guys for watching this video. Give it a thumbs up if you enjoyed. Leave us a comment down below. Let us know what you think. And don't forget to subscribe to this channel for more great videos about cell phones and cell phone plans.